All right, so the question that I'm going to attempt to answer today is, what is yoga really designed to do? So, when you ask someone and talk to someone about yoga, right now, if you just, well, you wouldn't go outside unless you were 6 feet away from them, what yoga is, the majority of people are going to tell you it's some form of physical movement. It's asana, meaning asana is like the postures, but it's meaning like up dog and it's down dog. It's what you experience in yoga classes and the type of experience we provide. But as we, have studied over the last 20 plus years, what we've really found out is that yoga and its heart, like it was never even a movement practice back in the day. It was actually a meditation practice. And when you understand that, when I found that out, I was like, well then, what is meditation designed to do? Because so even now we have to like parse out the terminology, and we separate like, oh, I'm going to yoga or I'm going to meditate. And there was a period of time where when you said yoga, that meant meditation. And so then the question is, well, what is meditation designed to help us do? And the real truth of it is that it's designed to help us bring us back to our truth and who we really are. It's literally designed to answer one fundamental question, which is, who am I? Who am I? And this one question, the misperception of it is like the number one cause behind most of our suffering, most of our agitation, most of our anger, most of our frustration, most of our resentment, most of all the things that we struggle with on a daily basis can be boiled down and distilled down to a misperception of who am I really. And so the way we kind of use a framework to understand this is that there's basically two aspects of us as human beings. When you go down into the weeds a little bit more, there's actually more of us, but like in terms of as we look at ourselves and how we're working and how we operate in this world, there's two ways of looking at it. One is being, and two is becoming. Now, being is a very like Eastern philosophy type thing where it's, being in the moment. You hear that in all the yoga classes, like be in the moment. Like even like this morning, John themed a class about peace is a matter of practice, not a matter of faith. And so there's all this like in the moment, real time, create space, find the gap, respond to life, don't react. And it's very like be here, be now. And when you look at that, it seems that now contradicts this other aspect of us, which is becoming. Meaning that, like, tomorrow, I want to progress in a way that I'm not experiencing now. I want to evolve. I want to be better. I want to grow. I want to, like, learn more. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. I want to do something for a living that, like, makes me more excited than what I'm doing now. Or, like, I want to continue to progress towards happiness and towards more love and towards more abundance in my life. And so you can see this idea of being here now and contentment and acceptance and all of the things that this beingness kind of represents seems to be at odds with the becoming of me wanting to be better than I am now. But in truth, and this is why I want to talk about it, because if you didn't know like what yoga was really designed to do, then this will help frame it that way. But it's also because our lack of understanding of our beingness, of who we really are, we then identify so much with who we're becoming that if this should get shaken up, whatever the verb is, like at all, we start suffering because of it. So what I'm saying is being, recognizing who we really are, like in our deepest sense of self, is the foundation for us to become all of the things we want to be. And when you start walking down the path of becoming a better person, what you immediately meet is failure, right? I am not the person I want to be. Like, I have some really big dreams, and the person I am now is not good enough to get and fulfill those dreams. So I have to keep working on a daily basis on myself to become the person that is capable of achieving the dreams that I want in my life. Now, in this process of becoming that person, because the idea of growth brings discomfort, it brings failure, it brings struggle, I have to have a foundation of my sense of self, of who I believe myself to be, who I am, that can support the constant struggle and the failure that's necessary for me to become a better human being in whatever way that I want to be, like whatever that means to you. I don't care if it's financially, if it's emotionally, if it's mentally, if it's relationships, if it's health, if it's wealth, whatever it is. Like the foundation of becoming is being. So then the question is, well, like, what do you mean by being? Well, what we mean by being is that we misperceive ourselves. We believe that, well, actually there's three things that we like that have the potential of being misperceived as who we are. The first one, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, no shit, that's not actually it at all. I know that's not. And that's the things we can perceive with our senses. Meaning, I can go out and I can see my brother, and I know he is not me. There's no like, I'm not trying to like, he's not me. He's there. I'm here. I can see this, this flip chart. That's not me. I can see the sun. That's not me because it's separate from me. So that's real easy. Like we don't typically believe we are other things. However, we can identify with those things because of the roles that we play. And all of a sudden, me being a husband, if my relationship with my wife should fail, right, all of a sudden my identity as a husband then gets like shook up, and I have to then figure out, well, man, maybe that's not me. Like the whole midlife crisis, like I've been doing this line of work forever, and all of a sudden I am at 50. I'm not really. And my identity about what I've like devoted so much time and energy and effort to then gets called into question. So we're not the things that we perceive with our senses. We're not the things outside of ourselves. But then the question is like, well, what about my thoughts? Right? That's inside of me. And we totally identify with our thoughts. You, in a moment, can be a hero with a thought that you have, and you can be a villain with the next thought that you have. And all of a sudden, what we're focusing on, these identities, these stories that we tell ourselves, which are the baseline of the identities that we're holding, meaning if you just start noticing the stories you tell, you're playing a role in every story. And that role is an identity based on that thought of who you are. And so what we're saying is like, you're not the things that you perceive, you're not your thoughts, and then these thoughts produce these feelings. Well, in a moment, you can feel like joyous, but then and literally in like a split second, you can think of something that brings you grief and despair. And so the thoughts and the feelings are so fluid, they fluctuate so much that you have to like recognize that when you're joyous or when you're in despair, like you're not those things. So what we're saying is there is a part of you, like who you really are. There's an aspect of your beingness that is independent of thoughts, feelings, and anything you perceive. And lots of like Eastern philosophy, they call it this witnessing presence that's inside of you. And now, this is philosophical, right? It's conceptual. And so it may be like, okay, I kind of get that idea that there is this like witnessing presence. Pure awareness is what some Eastern philosophies call it. Right? And all it's doing is sitting inside, and it's just witnessing all of the panorama, all of the fluctuations of your identities and thoughts coming and going, of all of the fluctuations of day and night, and the passing of time, and all the fluctuations of feelings that come and go, and all the identities that you hold over your lifetime. It's just sitting inside and just witnessing all of life unfolding. Right? And so what we're trying to do, so this brings us right back to this, why meditation is the heart of yoga. And don't get me wrong, the asana, what we're doing on our mats is so crazy valuable. But why meditation is because meditation is the very specific practice that is designed to help us see all of the things that we are not and start identifying with the thing that we are, this witnessing presence. And so why is that important? Because when you take that seat of witnessing presence, and you're just literally just watching thoughts float in and out, feelings come and go, right? Even visuals, see, everything you see is just coming and going, and you see this like impermanence. What you then tether yourself to is the experience of peace. That place of this witnessing presence is whole. So what we get is this feeling that we are complete, this feeling that we are enough, this feeling that regardless of whatever's going on outside of ourselves, whatever like turmoil and chaos and upheaval is going on in our lives, we can see it as, oh, like I don't have to identify myself with that. I can identify myself with that place that's within me, that is whole, that's complete. So those things will come and go, right? We're experiencing it right now. This becoming, our lives have changed dramatically over the last couple weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic, right? And so this is being torn apart. And why are people flocking to their mats, their meditation cushions? Is because it gives them these moments, these little pressure valve release, these respites where they get connected to the thing that isn't being tossed about, isn't being torn apart, isn't being like thrown down and shooken up and then thrown back up again. Like literally all of this right now is just completely in chaos for most of us in our lives. And so what we then lean on is the beingness of, oh, even with all that happening, I still have this ability to tap into this reservoir of peace based on the knowing that I am not those things. There is something larger, deeper within me that is connected, that is enough, that is whole. And so even if this wasn't an upheaval, we want to become something. And when I'm connected to I am enough and I am whole and I am complete, and I feel worthy of love, that's the feeling tone. That's the experience we get when we connect with being. We then have the strength, the spiritual muscle to go about becoming who you want to be in life. It go about dealing with the natural ups and downs of life, dealing with the natural struggles of life without totally losing our shit. Because we have this anchor here to allow us to deal with the natural struggle that happens just by wanting to become more, or when life just throws you a curveball and makes you stay at home and you may lose your job and or the studio shuts down and we have no one coming in, then it's okay, I get it. And listen, don't get me wrong, I have felt the emotion of man, there is loss happening. There is a potential that studios may not open again. That is real. But I then connect back here and get my bearings straight so that I don't lose sight of what's most important. And then I'm grounded in this experience of now, how do I want to become? What can I create? What am I in control of? And knowing that I am enough and knowing that I'm worthy of everything and love and all that stuff, I then go about creating the experience that I want to have, regardless of what the externals are happening. This is why yoga. This is why it's so important to stay connected on your mat, to even more importantly, get connected on your meditation cushion, because this becomes the foundation of this. Now, what's really cool about the becoming is that John and I have spent the last 20 years creating this framework for what does it look like to become healthier, to really get deliberate and intentional with how we want to show up for ourselves and our careers and the relationships that we have in our lives, and a framework for how do we go about having a dream and then reverse engineering that so that today and tomorrow and the next day and the next week and the next month, I can keep walking towards that dream, staying connected here on a daily basis while walking towards this newer experience, this higher standard of living. And so that's really what I want to talk about today, is just this idea of being and becoming, how they seem contradictory, but they're actually complementary. And one supports the other so well, because what we realize on this side of it is that there's lots of stuff we can't control. There's lots of things that are going to happen in our lives, like aging. We can't control that. We're going to get older, right? People are going to die. We're going to lose the people we love in our lives. That's just, it's a part of being human. And the ability to go through that stuff without losing heart, without losing our desire for a better life, is based on staying connected here. This is why yoga, this is what yoga is really designed to do, to get us connected to our truth so that we can then go about becoming the people that we want to be and staying grounded in that truth that, man, I am worthy of love, I am enough, I am whole, and regardless of what's happening, whatever chaos is going on outside of me, I am tethered to this truth within me that allows me to navigate more skillfully, more effectively than I ever have before. That's it. That's all I got for today. So I appreciate you watching, appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.